What's up, everybody? It's your man Danelle, aka Small Guy Promotions, aka Omaha Fatty, coming with another podcast episode of What's Up Omaha. Yo, I got my man Raymond Bone on the podcast for the first time. This is my homie. We've been cool since like '94. We go back quite a bit, and it may be a little different format from some of the podcast content that we've had in the past, because a big thing about what I'm doing with What's Up Omaha is trying to incorporate genuine friendships from before the business stuff. That's why if you've seen my friend Steve Beach on, he's a realtor, but also has been a friend for a very long time. Ray is friends with him as well. If you saw the interview with our friend Joe, he's not in business, but we just talked about, protests and being a truck driver during the current times, and going to different cities and states where protests have been going on, and as well as what it's like trying to work in these different cities and states while COVID is a thing. So Ray is going to be on today. He's not a business owner or anything like that, which is totally fine. But we just want to chop it up. It's been a minute since we've hung out. We usually do a fellas night from time to time. That's actually the last time we got to hang out was probably back in February, before everything really popped off with COVID.
It was cold. I know it was cold.
Yeah, it was January, February. I think what happened was we all hung out, and then like the next week they were like, COVID shut down. I'm like, I don't know. What up, Ray?
What up?
How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I don't own a business. I haven't had a job since 1994, as Danelle mentioned.
He's actually hiding in like some random stranger's closet right now.
Yeah, this is I don't know, man. I mean, we just break in places, get comfortable in the closet, and Zoom call folks. That's kind of my business.
So I just want to be sure that you're in the closet. Is this like R. Kelly in the closet, or you just is that just? I mean,
no, I'm in a literal. No, I'm like in a physical closet. I mean, I might have some secrets. I mean, I got drawers like right in front of me, so there's some potential secrets in here. But this is the quietest place in my home with 4 kids. One of them is a month away from introducing himself to the world. So this is going to be his bedroom. So that's why I'm sitting in a chair with a crib, because this is now a baby nursery / my closet. So
you got a month to get that ready?
I'm pretty much, I mean, my wife has a month, man. I've done my part. I built the crib. We turned a shelf into a changing table. So we've turned what was a closet into a nursery / closet for real. So this is where the babies sleep.
Now you've become fairly handy over the last however many years. Now, when you say built, do you mean like you went down and Paul Bunyan the tree and like made it from scratch, or you just put it together?
So the crib I just put together, like it came in a box. I put it together. The changing table was from my daughter. All my kids are young. The oldest one is 6, 4, 12 months. My youngest son turned, the son born, the youngest one born turns a year old in a week. And then the next one following him is due in October. So my daughter's old changing table I took and I screwed it into the wall and on the shelf securely. So it was this thing that already existed. I didn't build anything at this point as far as the baby stuff goes. I hate to disappoint you. I do have some projects with my stamp on it, like raw material wise in the house, but not in here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, man, let's get into it, man. Let's tell the people why we're here today. Aside from just having friends on and catching up, which is always a good thing to do, especially now since it's we all got families. You, of course, as you just said, busy family man with 4 kids. So
I'm actually planning on auctioning at least one of them off during the course of this video because I can't do this.
Cool, let's do it. But yeah, man, we talked a bit, and you had just mention the podcast and whatnot, and just wanted to have some conversation around what's going on in the world right now, the state of the world that we're currently living in, and
Yeah,
uh, all the craziness with protests once again, and racism and just like hate and maybe a little bit of COVID talk or whatever. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
man, let's get into it, brother. Like, just so you guys know, if you're listening to this, and you can't see Ray, he is a black male um, in Omaha, Nebraska, and it is reported that he is a racist. Um,
Yeah, yes. I hate myself as well as many others. So
No, but not for real. Like, of course, it's like a lot of people uh, are talking about that. That's the topic of a lot of conversations: police brutality,
yeah,
racism, Trump,
yeah,
whatever else. Um, I'm not into politics or anything like that, so I don't really care to talk about that aspect of it. But just uh, daily life, man. Like, what are you thinking right now in terms of what you're seeing, all this news that's going on about black folks dying, man, just for what seems to be no reason in a lot of cases.
yeah, man. I mean, I, uh, so you know me a long time, man. Like, I think we've been on the same wavelength here. Like, when we talk about racism and stuff, like the different tiers of racism. One of them is like kind of some of the systemic stuff, like just institutionally, like there's things in place that still exist, kind of holdovers and things and attitudes and certain things I think that persist and affect how uh, just society sees black folk. Like that's some of that still exists, but a lot of it doesn't. I mean, if I'm real, like you know, watching like Dr. King, clips of Dr. King in his 60s or whatever, and just chopping up with my parents or my mom or whatever about stuff they've seen and been through and that kind of thing. It's not the same. It's not like we got racism light these days, if anything else. I mean, so much so that like if you say something to somebody at work, like sideways, you can get fired in a moment because they don't want that liability. Like there's protection that way for equality in many spaces that just didn't exist before. So like I don't feel like there's like this big bad, big bad white devil can't get ahead, like that just ain't the landscape in 2020, right? There is disproportionate social ills and stuff like in black communities and that kind of thing. Police brutality or police just harassment, like just the way police engage with people, and all that, and that kind of stuff. I think though for a lot of times there's that balance of, how police treated somebody who committed a felony. Like, so there's that element of like the accountability of like, if you ain't doing that, like you and me ain't out committing felonies, right? So I don't know how you feel, but like when I walk down the street these days, I'm not, I'll tell you this, I'd be more afraid to walk down a neighborhood like where cats don't know me, like in the hood or something where I'm a threat for a different reason than I would be in a white neighborhood or something I've never been in because of the police. You know what I mean?
I think for me, like I'm not worried about. Well, let's just say this. Like I've worked with a lot of police. I mean, people probably don't know my background. I've done security and stuff, and worked with a lot of guys who have become police officers and whatnot. Uh, so to a certain point, like you have to have a rational like mindset, right, and perspective when you're looking at certain things. So like, yes, are there police issues? For sure, yeah, like there are, but like the generalization that every police officer like is an evil person, like some of the stuff that I've been hearing is like good police officer is an oxymoron because of the reason that police officers began to be a thing, with slaves and hunting down slaves and whatnot. So they're they're acting in a certain way, the way the system has enabled them and has been set up for them to behave. So that's why they're saying like there's no such thing as a good cop. I know a lot of good dudes who are police officers, man, and I'm not gonna put a blanket stamp or like just statement out there saying that police are bad, because I don't think that's the case. Um, you know, maybe certain situations people aren't trained as well, and maybe there is some racism in there. I do believe that. But like you said, I'm not really worried personally. Like, it's different from when I was younger. When I was younger, I was like, oh man, I don't know, the police. Like, they get behind you or something. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know. Like,
Right.
now it's not so much like that, because I understand individuals. And like you were saying, I'm not going to necessarily hopefully put myself in a potential situation where something like that transpires, where I'm worried about my safety. But at the same time, I'm not gonna, I'm not looking to like just randomly engage officers in a tense situation. Like, I'm just not gonna
Right.
on that. So,
Right.
but sometimes I don't know. Like, I'm on social media all the time, man, and some of the stuff that I see, people say, comply or whatever. But when you're in a place, and I would say that we are to a point out of touch as well, because even though we've volunteered and done different things in different areas, the way that you and I were brought up, overall, we have lived in like pretty good neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So being in a neighborhood where you consistently see uh, a certain level of interaction with police, and they were saying for a while that like relations, police, community relations were doing really well in Omaha before the George Floyd thing sparked all this outrage. But if you see a certain level, and you know how it is, man, Black fathers. You know how my dad was, man. If I was put in a situation where I was hanging out with 3 or 4 dudes, and they didn't even have to be black, but like if we got pulled over, as far as my dad is concerned, that's me. That's my fault, because I was rolling around with dudes in a car.
No, not
Like,
dudes, man. Them hard ankles.
hard ankles, yeah, yeah. My dad used to call dudes hard ankles.
Yeah.
But like I couldn't understand as a young person, like, why he would be like, it seemed like he was blaming me for getting pulled over because I had dudes in the car, which I didn't understand why that was a problem.
Right.
And so that's just like a small piece of it. But when you live in a neighborhood where police are actively there, and maybe the interactions aren't positive, or they saw something, or especially when they were a kid. Like, there's this video, and LeBron James even talked about it recently in a post conference setting or something, where there's this video of this black kid in the driveway, man, just shooting hoops, not doing anything bad, just shooting hoops, and then like sees a police car like down the street, and this kid is probably like 6 to 8 years old, maybe, sees a police car and goes and runs and hides behind the car in the driveway until the police car passes. Now, I don't know the circumstances that lead up to a kid fully being like that, because even though my dad taught me, or try to instill in me that I shouldn't do certain things, like, he never taught me to be afraid of the police. Like, so I don't know how that, I can't speak from that perspective.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I definitely do believe that there are so many things to be on the lookout for, man. And my whole thing right now is just, if people follow me and know, like, I'm trying to spread positivity and like love and joy. I'm trying to, life is short, and I'm trying to spend my energy, because I don't have enough energy to focus on all the bad stuff that I see, man. So all I can do is try to go out there and leave my imprint by doing positive things, and hope that, in the hopes that it reaches someone else, and that they do the same. So like, that's a heavy burden to put on your shoulders, to try to go out and, like, I commend all the people who are like on the front lines and speaking about the tough situations and having those conversations, and like putting in work, like countless hours, and to try to make change.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's I feel like there's a couple of tiers. There's like the institutional part, like what you're talking about, like, just like you're saying, you weren't taught to be afraid of the police, but like society teaches you to be afraid of to have some level of fear. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of, we know a lot of same people or whatever, but I know, a handful of cops and whatever. And I don't know any dudes who are like race, like there's ignorance and then there's racism. You know what I mean? Like racism to me is like, I'm explicitly, overtly trying to, I have an issue with you based on the color of your skin. And there's really no, well, these people are okay, but these aren't. Like, that's just ignorance. Like if you can't calculate that you hate these people for a reason, yet you have exceptions, like then you don't really have a great reason. You know what I mean? Like that's just
My
dumb.
daddy said he hates you,
Right.
boy. Like,
Right. But so there's that, there's like racist people, which I've encountered, I don't know about you, man, but I feel like I've encountered plenty of racist people. I learned most of the racist words for people from racist people, or racist words that people use against black people from racist people directly. A couple times you're like, what? What do you call it? Should that offend me? Because I don't know what that is.
yeah.
But so there's that element, and then there's the accountability part, right? So I feel like there's this line where between whatever elements of institutional or societal racism exists, there's like, what do you do about it, right? Because for me personally, I've always known racism has existed, like from a young kid, right? That wasn't even growing up like in a place that's predominantly white. I mean, probably more so, because it wasn't so much police; it was like individuals, right? Like you talking about growing up in like lower middle class neighborhoods and stuff. Like you don't see, you ain't in a trap. There's not police around every corner, where there's known gang presence and dope boys and all this kind of stuff around everywhere you're at. Like that doesn't exist. Kind of in the spaces we grew up, at least not since you moved here. I'm sure it was probably a little more prevalent.
Yeah, it was a little different in my old neighborhood.
Back in the hometown, but it's different here. So there's this point where the racism, this may be a controversial way to put this, but the racism that I'm familiar with isn't enough to stop me. It's not like limiting racism. It's got its limits, but it's a challenge that I'm like, well, that ain't going. I mean, there's not enough there where I'm like, oh, I can't be whatever. I can't do whatever because people think this way or because this institution has these remnants of racism. There's not enough of that. So that coupled with the accountability, like where, you've been pulled over with me on multiple occasions. There's this level of accountability where like, I'm not trying to, like I'm aware enough, like I'm not I understand the tension that exists when I get pulled over, whether I've done something or not, right? Whether I was speeding or whatever, there's this tension that exists. A part of it is like, I don't want to get shot. So I already know, like a dude comes up with me with a gun on his waist, man, like he's asking me to do simple stuff, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Now, if I'm a felon with a lot more to risk in that situation, I might be gone. And I might escalate that situation if I got a lot to lose that way because I've been doing dirt or whatever. But as a dude who's not doing that, the tension exists. Like I'm just trying to comply and hope there's no handle to fly off of for this dude for whatever reason. He's not that 1% or whatever that just hates folks and is racist on, in his own or whatever. But I don't feel like that's the tension that exists for me. And I just feel like if I'm just compliant or whatever in those situations, like you said, in the scenarios where I'm running into police, I'm not feeling like I'm gonna, somebody's gonna put a bullet in me, right? However, there does exist that tension. Like I live in what would people consider a relatively nice neighborhood, right? There was a situation where one of my neighbors had a house being built, and there was a bunch of kids parked outside, and I got cameras outside my house or whatever. There was a bunch of kids parked outside. They're going to the house next door, and they were lining up like they were about to go in and party at this house where I like know these people. I met them and whatever. They built this house. They come in and check on it, and the house isn't done. There's these cats had beer or whatever. Like they're about to just treat it like an abandoned house and go party or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, nah, man. So I called the police because I ain't about to go there. There were 10 white kids, man, and be like,
Yeah.
I'm smarter than that too. So, but I called the police, man, and like I always wear hoodies in the house because it's always like chilly for me, like upstairs in the bedroom and stuff. And I was keenly aware, like when I came out, I saw the police pull up. When I came outside, I was like hood off. I don't know what I was wearing, man, but I just made sure like these cats didn't think I was, I'm young enough looking in the dark that maybe they was like, how old is this cat? I don't want them thinking like this is the dude we after, right? So I pop out the front door like, hey, good evening, officer. You know, I'm on the P's and Q's because I don't want to give these dudes, you know, something to worry about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like that's that institution, that tension is that kind of that holdover racism stuff where like I just don't know what to expect, and I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm gonna be, you know, compliant out. I didn't walk out with my hands up or nothing, but I was like compliant out the gate. I wanted these cats to know that, listen, I confirmed with them immediately. Yeah, I called y'all, people next door, blah blah blah. I made sure that they knew it wasn't me, right?
Yeah. So you didn't want to get angel dust sprinkled on you. Am I correct, Dave Chappelle?
That's correct. Correct.
Or PCP or whatever it was.
Look at pictures of himself all over the place. Yeah, because I mean, it wasn't even in my house. I didn't even have that excuse. You know, I just walked out the crib. But yeah, man, it's like, so situations like that does exist. Like I think that's evidence. That's an element of that real racism. However, like I wouldn't anticipate like getting shot up unless I was doing something beyond walking out of the house and confirm. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't scared to walk out of the house knowing that I could control the situation to some degree by not presenting myself as any sort of threat. Like I want to take down that potential, which I shouldn't have to do. That's that tension, and that is like I said, an element of racism. I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to feel like, oh, I live in this neighborhood. I'm a homeowner. I called the police to help out with a situation where somebody was doing some dirt next door, but I got to make sure that they don't think I'm, you know, that I'm a threat when I walk out the house to give them more information or whatever, and tell them what I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and think of, you know, in my previous neighborhood here in Omaha, I mean, you know, a lot of dirt all the time. I can't tell you how many times I called the police. Like I'm down for calling the police if I see something happen. I mean, even back in Ohio, man. So you talked about, you know, that a little bit. So my neighborhood was a little bit different. I lived on a block, and in Ohio and Dayton, in my neighborhood, it was completely different in my area. I lived with, I don't remember ever seeing any black or any white people in my neighborhood. You know, we had the ghetto, like the projects, a block up, and then a 5-minute walk in another direction. There was more projects, and we could hear gunshots and stuff in the middle of the night. I distinctly remember there being one night when, like, I don't know if it was like a Uzi or whatever it was that was shot, but I remember people talking about the how you have those little white plastic doors on the front of the apartments and the homes and stuff in the projects.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there being talk about this door looking like Swiss cheese because there was so many gunshots, man. And my parents, I lived in a home with a mom and a dad, and they worked hard and just tried to keep me out of those elements, even though we snuck into the projects sometimes when because they both worked all the time.
Right,
So but yeah, man, even then, like being 8, 9, 10 years old, I don't remember back then having a fear of like calling the police or anything. I remember one time my bike got stolen. We called the police. So there wasn't like a fear there. I mean, our neighbors on my specific block, there wasn't really any drama that I recall. So I still have a different experience, I would think, from those people who lived, just a block away and stuff. So, and again, I think it comes from a lot from parents, man. The stuff that we learned from them, and my mom and dad held it down, man. That they made sure that we weren't getting in trouble and stuff, no matter what was going on with other kids and stuff in the neighborhood. Like it just wasn't something that I was involved in or that I had to care to. There were some instances, man, where different stuff. Like I can remember the first time I held a gun, like chilling with a dude in my grade, a friend, and we were at the park playing ball, and for some reason, his cousin, who was older, like he was my brother's age, he had us go to the house, and I can't remember what was going on, man, but I just remember we went to the house to get a gun, and we took it back to his cousin or whatever. But outside of that, man, I don't remember ever there being like any like dirt that I was involved in, but those cats, and there was brothers, Ron and Marty. And Ron actually, I found out like a few years back that he actually, like, I think got shot or something. So like, I don't know what happened after I moved away.
Yeah.
But they definitely were living a little different life than I was. I would like to think that even if I stayed in Ohio in Dayton, that I still would have been cool because I got an older brother who wasn't into that. He was into sports and all that stuff. He didn't have time for all that nonsense. I'm sure he did his share of dirt or whatever too, but like it was never anything where
Oh, he did.
there was never anything where there was like still that ill will towards like other people or just being in bad situations like that. And when I moved, my mom and dad did work with some white people, uh, and I don't remember there ever being like any racial tension back growing up when I was young like that. Shoot, we actually went out fishing with this one family, and like I hung out at their house. I had like sleepovers and stuff. That was like
Hmm.
I had a few like white people in my class. There was like one or two, white people. It was the opposite of what it is
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
Omaha. Like I think I only had like one or two white teachers in my time growing up in Ohio, and then when I came here, like it was like flip the script, like everybody's white and there's like three black people and I'm like the only person with an afro and people are like, can I touch your hair? And I'm like, bro, so and that's another perspective too. That's another thing. Like, I, people probably don't know about me. I used to on the interactions that I had with white people and wanting to touch my hair, thinking stuff was cool. Like it made me a certain way, man, and like not liking people like touching me and stuff, man, just because. And I don't think they meant anything by it.
Just ignorant curiosity, man.
Yeah, man, yeah, but it's a weird thing to have people want to come up and touch your hair.
Listen. It is, but it isn't. Like I remember in like third grade, man, I started rocking a Gumby. Right, this is back when you could do that Bobby
Yeah,
Brown Gumby, and then the Johnny Gill, you cut the little chunk, the little
step
step out
up.
from the front to the back. So like I was rocking hairstyles like that, man. Like when I would go to the barbershop, I would get faded up and then do something with the top, so it was like interesting. It was almost you got like a little artwork going on the top of your
Yeah,
head. And people were just mad curious about that, like just like the material of your hair, why it could stand up, whatever. And I didn't like people touching my hair either, man. I was like, get up, back up. Especially when I started wearing like wave cap, like started greasing up wearing wave caps, man. I didn't want them rolls were hard to keep. You get one out of place, man. They don't go back till you put the cap back on. So that used to drive me nuts. Like people want to touch my hair and whatever, but I didn't. That was from people I knew. Like that wasn't my first exposure to people like asking me for that. It was like friends and cats I knew like in school already. So I knew it wasn't like just like a weird like it wasn't strangers. For you, it was like new people and people
yeah,
that don't know you like that and new relationships. Like, oh, let me tell whatever. But I knew like it was like okay, I get that there's different characteristics or whatever. Like, don't touch my hair, but I'm cool. Like, I forgive you for wanting to. You know what I mean? Like, because it was unique, man. And especially like me, there were a couple other black kids in my classes and stuff growing up, like in school, like where I lived, growing up in the neighborhood I lived in. But I don't remember them like rocking like unique, like like modern hairstyles and stuff and that kind of thing. It was all just either like tight fro or faded up, like just simple stuff. And so like when you come in, you got your hair like lopsided. You're like, whoa, they thought that was like amazing stuff. Like I was defying gravity. But yeah, anyway, I do remember you being really weird about people touching you, and I used to take full advantage of that because I thought it was weird.
yeah, man. They gave me a complex, man. But and I think people just gotta understand, like, dude, as recent as like last year, and like, I'm not the type to I'm passive aggressive, and I understand that to a point, and I'm one to like think about something after it happened and be like, well, that wasn't cool. Like, so
Yeah,
like I was
yeah.
at the chiropractor, man, and I remember this, and this lady like she didn't even ask, she just touched like my dreads, and I was like, did that just happen?
Right. Like, in
Like,
what other planet can you walk up to a perfect stranger and just touch anywhere, just touch on them, outside
yeah,
of giving them some sort of like some sort of context that you coming in and you might want to, dap them up or something, but just to grab somebody's their
yeah.
hair.
It was
Yeah,
weird, man. And it was just something like I was holding the door open for her or something, and she was running. She's like, "Oh, your hair," and I was like,
right.
and I'm like trying not to. I'm trying not to be disrespectful in return and
Yeah,
stuff. And I'm just like, I'm just shocked that like, yo, that still really just happened.
yeah,
Uh, like, and I could tell she didn't mean anything. Like, I'm at a point, like, it wasn't from her vantage point, like, it wasn't like a disrespectful thing. It was a curiosity thing, or like that was cool thing, like you were saying.
right.
But still, man, people got to be conscious and stuff. Because if I wasn't me, if I was a different person, she might have got like, told off or something, man. Or, I guess I could have just pulled her to the side and be like, hey, that's
Oh,
not
look,
okay.
man, if she say, ooh, your hair, just grab some of her hair and be like, ooh, yours, and just sniff from front to back, man. See how
Is
she
that hairberry?
I mean, so like, where do you categorize that? Because, like, I don't take offense to it. I mean, I might not like the behavior, and I might have to deal with like the behavior. Like, get off me, you know what I mean? But it's not race. It's ignorant. Like, you don't know enough. You haven't met enough people. I mean, that actually is like drawing a line where you haven't met enough human beings to know not to run up and start touching on people.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
regard to like, let me touch your hair is like, it obviously is you haven't met enough people like me or different from yourself that you know it's not cool to just be like touching on people because they're different from you and you think you got your license to do that. But then B, that you don't know that this particular activity like isn't okay. Like, you don't just
Yeah.
run up and touch black people's hair. Like, black people
You're raised
specifically
by wolves,
don't
woman.
want to
Like,
touch their hair. But where do you put that? Like, where do you categorize that? Like ignorance or stupidity?
maybe a little naivete. Like, I mean, just. And she was like she wasn't like old, but she was probably in her late 50s,
That's too old, man.
or mid
Not
50s.
too old.
I didn't think that like it was a racist thing or a racial thing at all. I was just more like, who does that? Like, why do you? Because I would never go. Like, and I'm a super touchy, like huggy, like what up, man? Hey, how you doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
person, but I would never go and just touch a random person that I didn't know, that I've never had a prior
Right.
like interaction with, and just like touch their hair or just whatever. Ooh, your face. Ooh, your skin is so soft.
Which is interesting, like that, because we talk about racism and kind of with the police and stuff. We talk about preconceived notions and tensions where situations don't feel safe. But in that case, like this lady it's almost like not racist that she feels perfectly safe running up on some cat she don't know,
Yeah,
young brother, and putting her hand in his hair and not knowing how he's gonna react, like just expecting him to react like this is an okay thing. Yeah, it seems more naive than like like deliberately
yeah,
sweet. Like she's like, oh, black people they're nice. Let me
yeah. I
put
didn't.
my hand in your hair.
I didn't feel like she thought she owned me or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, it was.
Did she yell "come here" before she grabbed the dread? Get over here.
Yeah, so there was like no, yeah, I didn't feel like there was any ill intent or you know, just no bad feelings about it. It was just genuine, like kid-like almost curiosity,
Okay. Yeah.
which it's just strange. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, as you were saying, like as a person, I just don't understand like what environment you have been around that you believe that is an okay thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a human issue, not a race issue.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, and then again, it's like you said, it's on the opposite side. Like, maybe she's just so interested, like she is so interested in seeing, and she probably sees black people, but maybe she just doesn't see people with dreads. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Well,
but
you
I
are
feel like,
like where did this take place, man?
yeah, Millard.
Okay, so yeah, yeah, that
So
might have been the first set of drugs she seen, man. I mean, that's
yeah,
very well could be the case.
yeah. So, but I don't know, man. Well, you know, if we can get back to the police thing, if you still want to touch on that, man, I just feel like there are people who are racist who wear the uniform,
Hmm.
and then there may be people who are not necessarily racist, but they allow certain things to happen. And just as a person, sometimes we shy away from confrontation on any level.
Sure.
And as I said, like I'm passive aggressive. I might not say nothing at the time, but I might be pissed off later. But you know, and maybe it's just again a system that allows a certain behavior to occur. And then I don't know, man. I'm not in deep enough with police officers that I know to know how things go and like how like why they try to cover stuff up and whatnot because you know when I think of a police officer I think of you know that whole thing when they're where they're supposed to protect and serve. So if they see a police officer not doing something correctly or by the book or whatever, I don't understand how they allow that to slide and how like they do cover ups and all this stuff. Like it's a
Yeah.
people in general are shady.
Right. Right.
So, like
Yeah.
you know, it's not just a system that's corrupt. It's people as individuals are corrupt, and then
Right.
you know
Yeah.
that spreads, and it's like it grows and it's fed off of on some level. And I don't know. That's the type of stuff that like I think about on a like a high level, but it's a struggle for me to try to think about certain things because I don't want to get pissed off or like I've been talking to Mitzi like not necessarily because of police, but I'm like, yo, because she's like against having a gun in the house, and I'm like, with everything that's going on, man, like I need a just in case.
Yo,
Just
I've been talking about the same thing, man. Like I like guns kinda, which is why I feel like I'm too much of a hothead to have, you know what I mean?
that's why she
Like,
didn't want me to have one. She didn't have
yeah,
no.
like I might, like the threat is with my kids and wife in the house, man, like the threat is amplified beyond what it might be if I could give it time to marinate and figure it out. I feel like I'd be at the door, you know, I feel like I'd be a little too quick to pull the piece out and and confront, you know what I mean? To like try to be proactive in a situation that might need just to balance itself out, right? Like a lot of times criminals don't like, you know, they trying to break in or whatever. It's not a violent thing. It's they trying to get something and they don't want to see people. They prefer you not home. They break in, take your junk and leave. So it depends on what the motive is, but I've been feeling the same way. I've been talking about getting a firearm for a little while now.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy thing. Like before, it was just like, hey, you know, it'll be good to have, but now it's like, like people like me, people who look like me, like people are getting hung and whatever else. Like, yeah, I know jujitsu a little bit. Yeah, whatever. You know, that might help against one or two guys. But number one, I got to go to the ground, and if I got more than two dudes like trying to fight or something, like I'm not trying to be on the ground. Like you don't want to be on the ground like trying to submit somebody. like I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to throw you in an arm bar when there's another dude standing up who might kick me in the head. And so like it's just like,
Yeah,
man,
who's getting hung? What am I missing?
oh, bro, you don't know,
No, man, I haven't been following like a
dude.
whole lot.
After that George Floyd thing, man, and Breonna Taylor, like in these different states, like California and stuff, black people have been just like disappearing and been committing suicide by
Mm.
hanging. And like one dude, I don't even know his name, he hung for hours, and like the police were there and stuff, and they still left this dude hanging. And it was like around a Walmart where there's cameras and stuff. The the investigation is probably still going on, but it's like they are trying to like, and this is why a lot of people are pissed off and upset and like may react if they get pulled over.
Yeah, yeah,
The police officers in that instance, it seemed to be like they were just like letting the body hang or whatever. So it seems like these racists who have got into law enforcement are trying to send a message to black folks around like the nation, man.
Hmm.
And it's been like 6 or 7 different instances of people committing suicide by hanging, and it's like
How recent?
since George Floyd, like that
No,
was just.
I mean, like, how recent was the most recent?
Oh, I don't know when the most recent one was, but probably that I've heard about in the last couple of months. Uh,
Okay.
so like it's just, and it, again, it was like 6 or 7 of them, man.
It was like a rash of them. It was like a burst of it
Mhm.
happening. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, man. I know like it's a tough thing, and I don't have the answer. So, but that's the type of stuff where it's just like I want to believe in people and look for the good in people, but man, you just don't know. Like, and I don't. This is the thing about racism, and I know you've heard people say this before. If you're a racist, whatever, I don't care. Me personally, I don't care. Be a racist, but just let me know at the jump that you're a racist. Because if you're
Right,
not
right,
racist, then I'm just not going to be around you. Like, be racist all you want over there. Just don't be racist over by me. Like, cool.
right,
I would prefer to know as opposed to there being some kind of closet racist who might mad me up when I'm like
right,
walking home. You know what I mean?
right.
Like let's get it all out there and say what it is, man. And it's just so crazy. I can't understand nowadays. Like I went through a time when I was like, I don't like white people. Urgh, white people is the devil. like
Yeah. And squirrels.
yes. So I know we found squirrel bones in our backyard by our garden. Just, just off topic, but
Nah, man, listen, bro. You say no comment, man. Just keep it moving.
but nah, man. Like, I went through that phase where like I was just like a angry person. I think we had got, that's when we used to go door to door, and I think we got the cops called on us or something for going door to door.
Or hustling illegal wares.
Nah, man. We were. Well, I can't remember if we were badged up then. Oh yeah, I think we were because initially when I was 12 when we were doing it, we didn't have like the little badges that we needed, but then we got those, and I think it was after. Yeah, because I think I showed the cop that like, nah, man, we're legit. Here's our
But
ID.
listen, we were legit, but we wasn't legit.
America's future leaders, dog.
Because you remember the pitch. Listen, I can recite the pitch right now, and when I think about it, I'm like,
Yeah, it
that's
was.
a little misleading. So here's
And
what it
it
is.
wasn't by us. We were just working. We were getting paid.
I'm the kid you keeping off the streets by
Yep.
putting me on the streets and making that PlayStation money, baby.
Yep. Going to get games. Man, GameStop, gamers, whatever, back in the day all the time. 72nd Street.
Yeah, man, I like the money, but in retrospect, I'm like, that was a little. Like if somebody came to my door, was like, yeah, I'm with such and such, be like, man, get that window cleaner out of here, man. This is, I know that.
You trying to keep kids off the streets away from drugs, gangs, and alcohol.
Like, oh, yeah, I know what it is.
And people would ask, well, how do you do that? Well, you see, I get a quarter off of each.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
candy bars that I sell.
listen, we were good at it, so you could still work. You could still like not freeze in that situation and work it, but yeah, man, like I wouldn't be giving money to me like nowadays, knowing that I was just giving money to me and not
Yeah.
like not like kids in need. Because listen, they dropping us off back in the neighborhood we were talking about at the beginning of this, which is, a lower middle class neighborhood where, we ain't worried about gangs at least, whatever.
I remember I got jacked one time, man, by these two dudes. I had to be 12, 13. It was early on, man. And they were, teenagers, probably like 16, 17. And it wasn't like the best of, it wasn't like a bad neighborhood. I want to say it was like Leavenworth area, probably like 50th and Leavenworth or something, man. I can't really remember, but
I don't remember working that far north, man. But honestly, I don't remember we just got dropped off. I don't remember. I didn't really know where I was at the time.
dude, I still remember. I drive by neighborhoods. Oh man, I remember selling candy over here and coupon books over here. But yeah, man, whatever. That phase, I don't even know, man. I don't know if that was before. It was probably before the guy at Papillion dropping M-bombs on people and whatnot.
Yeah. So does your listening audience know that you are a master of race relations, a defender
No, I'm not.
Freedom fighter against bigotry. That one time I witnessed you slap up two bigots and then proceed to put a boot hole through their car.
See, I don't
Moments
remember
later,
this the way that I never remember this the way that you remember this, man. Like,
so here's what it was. Let's just see if it jogs your memory. Some dudes had called some girls some racist junk up in class or whatever someday.
I remember that part, but I'm talking about the actual parking lot part. Like I remember
So,
he said something to her. I think it was Candace or something. I can't remember. And he said, "Why are you listening to that in music?"
yeah, so somebody said that, and then like, we white people just couldn't get to us fast enough as like like upperclassmen or whatever, like the older black dudes in the school. I'm like, here's what was said. Somebody told somebody such and such. And we're like, so we went out, seek these dudes out, meet us in the parking lot after school, whatever. Okay, fine. And then so I remember standing by these dudes' car, sitting there talking to them. They get in the car, they get out the car. You beating on the window or something. The two cats got out. So I remember like, okay, I guess this is going down. I hope these white cats ain't got guns. These look like the type of dudes who would have guns. I hope they don't have
They
guns.
had a little neck in them. They had a little.
They had a little neck in them. And so I remember like, all right, this is going down. So I remember stepping up like with you to this like vehicle, like kind of strategically like corner of the car, so we can't get jumped kind of thing. Because dude got out the car. You asked to do what he said, something. You were like, what did you say, or something like that, and the dude wouldn't. He was yellow belly about it. He was yellow belly about it, and so you slapped him, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure you slapped this cat, and I was like, "Oh, we gonna get shot today." And then I remember the dude though. He kept his composure. He took it. You were like, "Don't you ever something, whatever." You was bossing up on these cats, and I'm just standing there like, yeah, like I was damn much, but it was a united front. But I think there were some other people around, but it was basically
It was
me
a
and
crowd,
you.
dude. I remember that.
But it was me and you and these two dudes, and then like these like ghetto white girls who love to get in the mix of stuff or whatever. And so then these dudes drove off, and I remember there was a long line to exit the parking lot. Like the parking lot was fairly like, it took a while to get out after school.
Yeah.
And I remember they had like a white sedan, and you ran over across the parking lot to these dudes' car. You were still talking a little junk or whatever. I don't know if one of them said something. I'm assuming somebody incited something a little bit, like by saying something or flipping you off or whatever. And then I remember you like did like like when you're on Wrestle Man when somebody like Undertaker gives you the big boot, like you throw somebody off the rope, and then you get that boot up high in the air and come back with the boot. I remember you kicking the cat's fender, man, and denting his fender.
See, I don't remember that part, man. I remember the slap, man, but
I remember like I was like annoyed by you running over there because then I had to go. So at that point they was driving off. I just wanted to go home. But I remember like I was like, this dude, man. So I had to go wherever you were.
man, you know what I found? I'm like, dude, I'm not the type of dude to try to fight nobody, man. But I don't know. This switch gets flipped, man. Like I'm super like.
Oh, I got the switch, man. I mean, I feel you. I got it. Yeah. But I hope something gets suppressed. Like I'm hoping that I'm not gonna kick a car. I'm gonna stand face to face with somebody and like let them know and hope it dies down. You know what I mean? That it doesn't come to the next level, right? Like, well, I don't know why we freedom fighting for people, man. But I remember, you remember Steve, man? Always got these. I guess I shouldn't put him on blast because you said his name already. But we got this friend who was always messing with these girls who always had some issues and was always messing with other dudes. There was always drama with the other dudes. And I remember some dudes yelling racist stuff or whatever, and they're like, quick to tell you, like, this is what they said. And I remember we were out at a club one night, one of our 5 to 6 day a week club ventures. And I remember Steve was like, yo, there goes a dude over there right there. He's saying N-word, just whatever. So I remember walking up on this dude, you remember they used to have, I think this was at that Cadillac split. I think it was, they used to have like a diving board. It was like, you have a stage and it was like a catwalk or whatever. It comes out like 5-6 feet or something.
Yeah.
And so girls can get up there and do whatever. Well, I remember like the dude was up there with some girl or something. I remember walking up on him like this close to his face, man. I was like, so I heard you like using, you know, this colorful language, this or that.
Yeah.
And I remember something like, I told him like, I don't care about none of that. Like, but if you messing with my boy, like that's where your problem comes in. That's what this problem is right here. And I remember the dude was like, no, man, I just, sorry, man, I just, blah, blah, you know, it was all a bunch of blase, don't hit me stuff. And then I was like, so we good then? Yeah, we good. And then, like, that was it, right? But I remember, again, I'm like, I remember standing up there thinking like, why am I doing this? Like,
Yep.
this ain't even, why do I keep doing stuff like this?
Yep.
Where is he? Where's the other dude that should be involved in this situation? Because if you hear some dude talking about your homeboys like that, maybe it should be you standing here.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, that's reminiscent. I didn't really neither here nor there. Outside of the fact that it's relevant because coming into contact with racist individuals, but even amongst all that stuff, like having those kind of run-ins, like I've never once felt, man, like in my like conscious light, like from like 10, you know, I'm like aware of the world a little bit, like early years on, like that racism, like I knew it existed again, but it was never enough to like stop me, like where I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do about this racism. Like, no, I know it's here, but I don't care. Like, what's it gonna do? Like, I'm just gonna work around it. I'm gonna adapt. I got to do this in these situations because this is how it is. You know what I mean? Which again isn't like doesn't justify it, but it's like you feel like, you know, am I gonna be stopped by this? Which I feel like is part of the like we back to current events. Yes, there is racism, but I just feel like it ain't just because I'm living in like, you know, I'm a grown man, you know, I'm almost 40 now, man. And I'm like Mike Gundy, I'm 40, I'm a man. And I'm living in like, you know, I got like steady job and I'm stable, right? I live like a stable adult, like in that world. It's not even that. Like, I just have, even when we didn't have much money and stuff and I had no like marketable skills and it was just, I knew you had to grind to make a living or whatever. Like it was that, but there was never enough racism where like I couldn't grind to make it, like that wasn't an option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like, yes, there are limitations and it's different for different people. I get it. It's worse some places than others. It's more impactful some places than others. And the institutional stuff, like especially in the hood, like has this grip on the throat where education and the schools suck. I don't know about police brutality so much as like just a thing where police are just walking out hunting black folks. I think it's they mishandle situations where there is criminal stuff, or they're in high crime neighborhoods and they act a certain way to try to, you know, limit and control those situations, like that's not legal or that's beyond their limitations. You know what I mean? Like that's where I don't even know if it's racism so much as it is like, you know, to use a Trump term, probably incorrect, but like law and order stuff, where it's like we got to have a handle on this. So our presence needs to be one of boldness, or like they need to know we ain't messing around kind of thing, which is like beyond their job, where they cross the line to protect and serve. This is our area, this is our beat or whatever, and these people need to know what we about. In whatever way it gets misconstrued, I feel like that's a problem. Like that becomes a problem, and it's more concentrated in certain areas because I think the threat is much higher, right? When you're in a high crime area, you could be the best cop in the world. You're still going to be way more tense and way on your P's and Q's than you are in some places like, you know, you running like the neighborhood check in a gated community, like that kind of thing. But I feel like the solution to stuff like is I feel like police brutality is such a small percentage of the overall ills. Like if you look at like how many black dudes die in the hood, man, like in a year, right? Like say it's 10,000, like 4 of those deaths are going to be from police brutality. You know what I mean? Like 900 of them are going to be from gang violence, or excuse me, 9,000 of them are going to be from like gang violence, like black on black crime, like that kind of stuff, like crime within the neighborhood against ourselves. You know what I mean? So that stuff kills me because as far as like a numbers game goes, like to me that's like the focus, like education, opportunity, like investing in people and investing in these neighborhoods and these places seems like should be way more like the big mainstream thing, because you save way more lives and you start impacting people who can start owning their communities and taking more ownership of their communities and impacting and saving more lives. You know what I mean? Because it happens organically in a lot of places where people just, older dudes, older cats like step up, take responsibility for their neighborhoods. And, you got like centers and youth centers and programs, and people start developing things and wanting to pour into people. But as on a national scale, like it'd be crazy if money could come in to make these places better, versus just stopping one element of it that is a problem, but it makes up such a small fraction of like what's truly killing, truly killing people.
Well, and so I think a big portion of that is like, so, well, and people who are against like BLM or whatever else is out there, that's some of the stuff that they like to point out is, the black on black crime, which a lot of people will be on the other side and say there's no such thing as white on white crime, there's no such thing as black on black crime, it's a proximity thing. You commit crimes, with people who are around you, so that's just how that happens. But like, a lot of times the black community is like, hey, don't snitch or whatever, right? So you got people though who are standing up like and saying, dude, like, no, we need to come forth. If you know something about somebody who got shot, we need to speak up on it and get that person behind bars. Well, a lot of the elements are when there is a black on black crime, the person is the person who committed the offense is apprehended and arrested or whatever. The thing with the police are they're supposed to be for the community, and they're supposed to protect the community, and they take an oath and all this, and they're not upholding that oath. They're not supposed to come and make things worse. They're supposed to make it better. Like if you're just and then when something like that does happen, a lot of the times, again, the police union or whoever else is, they're trying to take up for that police officer to make sure they don't get fired or whatever the case may be. And that's where people are saying that the system is jacked up, and they get a lot of that focus because, dude, you're supposed to be protecting us, but you're hurting us.
Right.
It's different than when Mike down the street shoots whoever and gets arrested. The police officers, it seems like 9 out of 10 times, not getting like arrested, or he may lose his job, he or she may lose their job, but a lot of times you'll see, even if they do lose their job, they move somewhere else and get a job wherever else as a police officer to continue the behavior that they were doing before. Like, and they bring up the history of some of these police officers and all the complaints that they've had against them in their career and whatnot. And that's just the stuff that people even know about. I mean, you see cops, and again, I'm not saying that this is just a cop thing. Like, people are dirtbags. You give them an opportunity to be a dirtbag, and a lot of people, they're just gonna do that. But you got like the one dude who was, I believe he was a white cop, but he was, and I don't know the city or state because I try not to dive too deep in this stuff because I'd spend hours and hours down the rabbit hole. But like he ended up getting arrested, but he was snatching up like black women and like raping them and stuff, and like nobody knew. Like there was like at least like 10 girls, I think, that he like took into custody and raped and did whatever to. And I don't know what led to him getting caught finally, but there's just like certain things that happen because these people are presumed to have more power than anyone else, and just because they tell you to do something, you're supposed to do it. So that's the thing too, where we're talking about just do what you're told. Well, you can't always do that because all the cops ain't like good cops, or they're not like good human beings.
Right.
So give somebody a little bit of power, it's kind of like money or alcohol. When you get money, you just become more of who you were before. Like it just comes to the surface. So
no doubt.
And they abuse that power, and I think that's what a lot of it is too. Like the stuff that we see on the news is not even necessarily all the stuff that is going on that these people deal with on a daily basis and gets reported, or maybe they try to report it and the police are like, whatever, get out of here. So and just thinking about it as we sit here and talk, like if you live in a home, as you and I both grew up with mom and pop, mom and pops who were working and whatnot. If you live in an area where
Kind of, but yes.
where maybe pops got arrested, and with there being so many like wrong arrests and stuff too, like where people probably didn't even do anything, but they drum up charges or something. So
Yeah.
like your parent gets taken out of the home because of something like that, and then like the family is struggling financially, and that's just the top of the list where stuff begins. But then it creates a cycle in that home where you like maybe you saw it too, maybe you know
Yeah.
there's just so many different things, man. I like you, I don't want to say that every piece of it is racism, but there's definitely things that need to be done differently, man, because in too many instances, and it seems like, and we live in an age of cameras now, like, so everybody gets to see it. Before, all that stuff was just going on and people didn't know about it, or you would tell
Yeah.
someone they won't believe you.
Yep.
So man, I can't discount anything or anyone who lives, like, I don't say that I live in fear, but I feel for anyone who lives that way and feels like because of their past, um, they have to live in fear. And I'll say there was instances here, man. Like we talked about the high school thing with the white kids saying the N word
Yeah.
or whatnot. Like
Yeah.
when my daughter, I don't know if I told you this yet, but I had to reach out to Mario because his daughter went to Papillion, man, and I checked with him. I think I told you this, but I asked him like, "Yo, man, I just realized we moved to Papillion. Is Papillion the same as it was when we went to high school? Because if it is, I'm a bit worried, and not necessarily that we had any big racial issues or whatnot. And there's a lot of people who we were cool with and talk to all the time. I still talk to a lot of people from Papillion now, but I do remember there being like a pocket of segregation. Like in the pits every morning. You chill with a certain.
But that was voluntary. It's not like that was like
But
the
that's what
school was mandating that or nothing. But
no, yeah, but that's what I'm saying though. Like I didn't want my daughter to go to a place where it was just straight up segregated like that, based off, a lot of it was based off of, it wasn't necessarily color, but sometimes it might have been, you know what I mean?
it was, man. It was. Yeah, I was just telling my wife about that earlier. Like it was color. It was like the people who looked alike, and it wasn't like this is the Negro pit. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I think because you were surrounded by hundreds of people that were different from you, like, I could count the brothers and sisters on a couple hands, a few hands maybe, that just that commonality, man, where you felt a little safer, a little more normalized, like a little more regulated. Like, and I don't know that I even chilled with these, like a lot of people outside of that.
yeah,
I mean, that was like you and some other cats that I was cool with, but it wasn't like we were kicking it, day and all day. It was just like it felt there was a level of comfort, man, like an innate level of comfort in that situation at that time of my life. Like I
yeah.
don't know.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't want that to be like the case. Like I don't want that. Like that's not right. Like whether and I still like I battle myself sometimes, man. Like so say like here's a scenario. And we always whenever we say racism, like we think about, white people being racist towards other ethnicities
Yeah,
and races,
yeah,
not necessarily going the other way. And it's such a tough thing, man, just to try to make sense of it all, because that commonality, like if I don't know anything about two people and I see them on TV competing and one person is white and one person is black, for some reason in my mind, I'm rooting for the black dude. like
but that's socially that makes perfect sense. Like that's normal. I think that's perfectly normal. If you have nothing else to go on, identify like your common ground is, even if it's superficial, is the only common ground you have amongst these people.
yes, but at that same time, like I don't want that to be the case, man. I don't want that to be the case.
Then
Like
who would you? Do you just want to? I mean, in a case, so this is kind of a, I don't know how far fetched this thing is, but if you are, you have to choose somebody to root for in a situation, and you know nothing about them. what other criteria, like what possible criteria would you use blind to say I'll take A over B?
I don't know. But I'm just thinking like game shows. It might be like two dudes going against each other. I'm like, oh, come on, black dude. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
I feel like yeah, so that's interesting, man, because I don't feel bad about that. I feel the same way. I do the same thing. Like, it feels good to see a brother in some sort of situation having success. I think because we don't see enough of that. I feel like that feels
Maybe that's what it is.
good to see it. Like, just not, I'm not going, I hope these white people lose. It's not a negative thing. It's like, it's a encouragement or whatever to see like brothers win. It's like Obama, like I mean, we can get political if you want at some point. I don't care, but like from a policy, from what was accomplished in office for Black folks, like I don't see a whole lot of that. You know what I mean, in the Obama era. But when he got elected, I was like, okay, like I never thought I'd see, like, this is crazy. Like I remember Jen she like framed the newspaper article of him getting elected, you know, in '08 or whatever. And it wasn't because it was like I was big into politics or I gave a crap about anything on the ballot. None of that stuff. It was just like a dude who's half Black or whatever, at least, is president. Like, that's like, we did something. You know what I mean? I didn't do nothing, but we did something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like you were saying, we don't see a lot of that. So I think too, and that's what some white people don't understand. Like they see Black people being upset towards white people, but they don't understand that it's not like you just were like, hey man, I want to have a problem with white people. You have a problem with white people because of what white people, and this is a generalization which I don't like to do, but
I'm gonna do it.
the history of
Mm-hmm.
what has been done, and what, you know, like I know things aren't even taught like exactly how they probably should be taught. And when you grow up in a society like Christopher Columbus, where he's like, you know, we get the day off from work and he's this hero and whatnot, and there's just certain things that about the history and the culture where they always look down on other races, and we have no, it's not like we initiated that anger or that hate, like we're just responding to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, sure.
so, but and it drives me crazy too, because I know a lot of times in that response that we have and that anger, my fear is always that, so say there's a racist person, okay, cool, you're upset with that racist person and have anger towards that racist person, cool, but sometimes that anger spills over to a white person who is not racist, and my fear is always that that white person will kind of be in a situation like that Black person or that Hispanic person was in, where they just have these encounters and then they become in a space where they're like, well, I wasn't racist, but I keep having these interactions with these people of other races that they're angry towards me and I haven't done anything.
Right.
I can see that person starting to lean more towards the racist side,
Right.
which, I mean, maybe it happens. Like that, what makes me think of it is higher learning. Remy
Yeah.
was just trying to fit in, man. Remy was just trying to be cool with anybody. He didn't care if they was white, Asian, like African. He was just trying to be down. And like the Black people, the white people didn't really want him. He wasn't a cool dude. The Black people were like, get out of here, white dude. And he just found a circle of, he was down and out, man, and just needed something to cling to. It's like a gang.
Yep.
And
No, it was.
yeah, like he found these people who just happened to be Nazis or, you know, whatever,
Let's go with skinheads.
skinheads. Well, I can't remember. I need to watch that
No,
movie.
same.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
and,
Michael Rappaport?
yeah. Michael Rappaport, and they took him in, and like, you know, he shaved his head and all that. After that, that is my fear for people. But my hope is that yes, there's racism, but there's so many people who, number one, are interracial. You're married to a white woman. I'm married to a white woman.
No, I'm not. Don't believe that. My wife is light skinned.
Whatever. But yeah, my hope is that like, number one, all and I remember there being like some, I don't know if it was a magazine cover or something, but it was like what the predominant person will look like in the future, and it's like a mixed looking person. So that's part of it, and then it's just that I feel like even if there still are races, man, the numbers gotta start being even by now, man. We might be a little ahead with non-racists, man. I
I
feel like
think we,
racists
yeah, yeah.
are not a huge majority of the people. They may just, in some instances, hold certain positions of power and influence.
Hmm.
And again, that's something that I've never understood about like drug cartels or like gangs. Like you look to one person who you got the juice now, right? Like like I don't
True.
understand. Even like like I said, I don't want to get into politics, but even like government, I don't understand. Like this person, I know you got Congress and all this stuff, but
Yeah.
in different countries, there's just like this tyrannical ruler who everybody just falls in line behind because they're fearful that they might die. And I'm like, how does that become a thing? How does one person have so much power that people just will do things that they don't want to do and follow this person? It just it yeah.
So hey, we listen. We want to chop this up. Like we can cut at that a little bit for a minute.
We can.
Um,
Yeah, we probably should. Yeah, we go a little bit longer. We've been going for a minute. I knew this would
so
happen.
and I don't. I mean, I just want to talk. I mean, I'm just down to talk about it. So if you got to cut the camera, that's fine. But I think like part of it is, you have leaders who uh, you start to change the law, right? You start to lose your rights under law, like on a regular basis, kind of bit by bit, start to shave away at the freedoms that individuals have,
Yeah,
and you give more and more power to the state, to the federal government. And then you have then those laws, as they change, you can start suppressing resistance to the laws because you have military, right? Like that combination of things to me is how in like communist, in some of these, in some countries, and historically in some countries, or whatever factions, um, where it's a slow creep. Like I mean, I feel like we could be at risk of that in America, right? There's some views like, so conservative or whatever, like you have, you usually have like the party line, Republican, Democrat, whatever, and then you have kind of conservative values sort of on the right side, but in the middle a little bit there's like conservative Democrats as well, which I think, true to the word, it's like conservative, keep the good of what we have, that kind of thing. Like that's the idea behind it, I think. And then you have liberal ideology, which is usually far to the left, more towards like socialism, Marxism, communism, like these different things that where they want everybody to be equal, and no government, like ruin, whatever. But that's an experiment that's been tried and failed all over the world many times. Like, is everybody gets everything. There's no, there's there's communism and capitalism, and everybody has an opportunity, but the wealth usually resides in small, you have rich and poor, and then there's usually always that great divide. And then there's like everybody gets equal, but you have sort of mass government rule. Somebody else decides what everybody gets and when and how and all that kind of stuff. So there's always that dichotomy versus like the freedom versus the equality, kind of, there always seems to be like this balance of that. And so for me, like, man, when I like some of the stuff that's going on right now, some of these ideologies like kind of creeping their way into kind of that usually get looked at as like extreme, like far, that's way out there, that kind of stuff. Sorry, I know my hand's off the camera maybe. Some of that stuff is like inching its way towards like making itself, putting itself on the ticket, right?
yeah,
What people are voting for now, and aren't clear that they're voting for that kind of thing, because usually it's just like, well, I vote for this party, I vote for that party, these guys are racist, these guys are this, these guys do it this way, these guys do it that way, I fall here, I fall there. I think there's like legitimate threats to democracy that are presented as not threats to, that are presented as equality in some ways and not threats to democracy. Like case in point, so like historically, like Democratic Party is looked at as, and you cut the camera at any point, man. The Democratic Party is looked at as like pro-black, like pro-minority, pro-equality, pro this, pro that. Republican Party typically looked at as, especially on the surface, like a generic surface level, like kind of staunchy, the wealth side of things, racist in some degrees in terms of like ideals and that kind of thing. And then, but you know, like that's not really like historically, that's not really how that's been, right? Like, cause black people, like we're like 90%, man, like Democrat or die. Like there's no not do that, right? There's no deviating from that. You deviate from that, you don't understand, you're a traitor or whatever. But we've had Democrats in office for the last 8 years prior to the last 4, you know, about 8 out of 12 years, 66% or whatever has been Democratic rule. Our largest cities in the country have Democratic governments, Chicago, New York, blah, 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 blah. But like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about now, like all these plagues, like they haven't gotten any better. And the things that kill, I would say, if we're looking at that big pie chart of what things seem to kill and adversely impact most black people, I would say one of them is welfare. Like welfare is like, it's looked at as a measure of equality, like give people something they don't have, but it's also like keeps people from doing anything beyond that. You can't, like for as far as welfare works, you can't go get a job. You can't be on welfare and good at the same time, right? And beyond welfare at the same time. You're either bound to it or you're not.
Yeah.
And so people get in the mindset, like, I mean, you got the plague of fatherlessness. We were talking about fathers earlier. As a huge, like, man, and like 40 years ago, it was like 25% of black families didn't have a father home. And that was like epidemic, you know, proportions or whatever, right? Or epidemic levels of an issue. And then now it's reversed. It's like 70 to 75% of like black households, no father home, right? And we know that that's like the statistics associated with fatherless homes, like your chance to die in, your chance of, you know, committing crimes, your chance to educate, everything like it gets with tanks. It just tanks by heavy factors, right? Yet welfare encourages people. You can't be a mom and dad. You know, you have to live below the poverty line in order to qualify. And then if you got like multiple kids, like you can't send kids to daycare and do this kind of thing on the amount of money, you know, you're going to make by not being on welfare. Yeah. So like you have to choose, like, do I want to choose like a small percentage that I'm going to be able to do more than this? Or am I going to take what the government gives me and be bound to it for the rest of our life? Like that's those kind of conditions. That's that systemic racism stuff that exists where we don't have options. Like it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's kind of what you're presented with. But that's something that the Democratic Party is, that's a part of that ticket, right? It constantly is welfare. Maybe welfare reform sometimes, that kind of thing, but it's like welfare, give people money. And then, you know, then some of these movements and stuff, man, like you go check out, and I'm proud that people are out on the streets, like peacefully protesting, like sharing a voice, raising a voice, and bringing awareness. Like America's paying attention, right, to some of these issues, some of this stuff. Like America's paying attention now that they weren't before. They're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it, you know. Like, so that's had success, right? But like you look at some of the stuff, you're like, well, why is it, like digging into a little bit, why is like the Black Lives Matter thing, where's the money going? Like they just got like billions of, like money's been flowing in like nobody's business since George Floyd and whatever, and kind of the Black Lives Matter is like just a kind of a logical, like, yes, Black Lives Matter kind of thing. And then, but kind of getting the gray area with that and the organization of Black Lives Matter, like they've been taking in tons of money, but like there's not like money, their money is going to like a lot of like tens and millions of dollars, upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars is going to support Democratic candidates, like for campaigns, not going like back into the cities and like, you know what I mean? Like the neighborhoods and the communities and the schools and that kind of stuff. Like you think that money would be getting directly funneled back to these communities that need it.
That's what a lot of people are pissed off about, man. Like, it's like, people are like, yes, I believe in the concept of Black Lives Matter, but I don't believe in the organization Black Lives So
Right.
like, and I'm not gonna, I haven't done any research or don't know anything enough about BLM. Like I said, man, I watch this stuff. Like I try not to focus on it too much, but
Yeah.
I watch it
Yeah.
just to be aware, man. Just
Right.
and like again, I can't spend too much time on it, man, because I'm probably taking years off my life because I get so pissed off and frustrated by the whole thing. You know, I just yeah
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to stay on it too long. My case in point was that um like the that to me is like a part of the perpetuation of this institutional racism where an organization is taking in a ton of money and not putting it like back, like, you know what I mean? Like you just got something mainstream where people are willing to throw money at a cause and like it's not going back to the cause. And then like I've done a little bit of research. And I'm not even dogging the group because I think there's some value in what's happening because a voice is being heard for a cause that matters. But underneath the covers of some of that, like I've been out to their website or whatever and looked, and like some of their goals is like to destroy the patriarchal family, like the nuclear family where there's a mom and a dad and whatever, like to do away with that. And you're like, well, we already know like 70% of like the statistics around Black fatherlessness and that epidemic, like is already out of control. Like, how does that make it better? Like,
yeah
you find like you dig and you find like a disconnect between, well, like that doesn't seem to be about Black lives, like that.
yeah
You know what I mean? And then you like bring up like, like napalm, type topics like about like abortion, like 50% of Black babies are killed before they're born. And like, that's not on the list. It's like, that's not on the list of Black lives. So there's like a very clear, like, it's like more like transgender and some of these other
yeah
issues that, have their place, like, in terms of equality and that kind of thing. But it's like, kind of, it feels, I get uneasy, like, wait a minute, like, is this, and why are you being funded? Why are you funding presidential candidates? Like, it shouldn't matter
yeah
politically,
yeah
who you care. This is like Black lives. You can pump this money directly into
the community
solving,
yeah
solving issues in communities. So, yeah, man, like, that kind of stuff, that's what kills me is like, but we're going to vote Democrat because we do 90%. And I don't care if people vote. I just want them to know, like, if that kind of stuff is true, like we need to know that kind of stuff before we say, I'm going to make these decisions that are going to affect my community in X, Y, Z ways. You know what I mean?
well and that's why like from again high level from what I've seen where you have Black people who maybe were Democrats and they switched to being Republican. That's some of the basis for their decision because of what you have been saying is like, they're saying it's for the community and whatnot, but it's really not that. But then when they switch to Republican, like other Black folks get mad at them and call them whatever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I will be like, dude, I'm not anything. I'm independent, bro. Like
yeah.
and I don't believe that the options that we are always provided, IND, and whatever, get out of here. Over my, but like we are. I don't believe in politicians overall. I
Yeah,
don't believe in government overall. Like I believe on like the idea of what they're supposed to be, but they're not doing what they're like you're saying. They don't do what they're supposed to do, man. So the options that we're presented with when voting, it seems like it's like why does it have to be a lesser evil that you're voting for?
yeah.
Like
I
why
think that's always the case, though. I think that's been the case, though, right? Like it always feels like it was okay. Like I felt okay with the blind choice of Obama because I felt like the value of having a Black president, it spoke so much to like removing excuses and like, listen, like we can do what, like if you can be in the most powerful position in the world as far as like, like a human role goes, like we can do anything, right? So that the value of that hope was like high ceiling. But when the boots hit the ground in terms of policy, like are Black people dying less? No. Are Black people going to jail less? No. Were Black people better educated? No. Were Black people die? You know what I mean? Like you go, do Black people have more money or higher paying jobs? No. And then like, but you have people still promising that. Like that's still the promise party is like care about Black people doing stuff in the inner city, whatever. And then you have, and if we can briefly talk about the bad orange man, the current president. But like, so let me ask you a question because we're talking about race. Like, do you think? So I put race, like when I think of people, I put them into categories. like ignorant fools, like racists, like people who want to see you fail because of your skin color, like that kind of racism. And then I see like people ignorant, like they just don't, they're just stupid and say stuff that's dumb. You know what I mean? Like they just foolish. And then there's like not racist, or people who are like racist in it, like on accident, like people who like woke folks who are like want to tell you what blackness is, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Like, are you kid? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like white folks that want to school you about your struggle and whatever, which I feel like is right. Like, you really think you're empowered to like communicate with me about what it's like to be black? Like those are the kind of the 4 buckets. And you can hit the stop button on the recording time you want, but I'm curious. Like,
I gotta close it out, Ray.
Yeah, go ahead, close it out. Okay, go ahead, close it out. But let's keep chatting a little bit.
No, what we should do, man, we should have you come back and we can talk again, man. We can make this like it's my podcast. I do what I want to do on the podcast.
I want to talk about this tonight.
Well, it's 10:23 at night.
Yeah, so that's because you started 2 hours late, man. Don't blame me for the time
it was 45 minutes.
Okay, is that on time, brother? No, that's why we ain't respected, man. We coming to work 45 minutes late.
Look, man. Look, see what had happened was.
Yeah, I bet what had happened was.
I had talked to Ari about going to the store, but then for some reason I was trying to do work on the computer and I got super tired, so I went to take a nap, thinking that and when I woke up I was like, oh man, that was longer than I planned on. Thinking that she would be cool with me just going to the store by myself after she went to bed, and she was like, are we gonna go to the store still? And I was like, okay. so that's why I'm behind schedule, man. I had to take a nap.
Hey, apology accepted, bro. I heard it in there. I know you didn't say it, but I heard it in there. I forgive you. I appreciate the accountability.
Yeah, man. But yeah, man, we should do it again, man. And we can continue to talk about this or talk about whatever else. I don't even care, man. Like we can.
No, man. I just enjoy. We've been chopping it up for decades, man. So the topic really don't matter.
Yeah, we should do that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, well, you have any final thoughts? Usually I give people an opportunity to say where they'll be or where people can follow them, but you're not really like a social dude like that. You don't.
Nah, no.
You have any messages for people?
I don't have a platform or anything, man. I love when people like.
I mean, you got me excited. I thought you were gonna say you love me.
I love you, man. And I hate when people are misled, or people are deliberately misled about certain things. Like that kind of stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have a platform, but like I've been digging in like some of these areas, and I feel betrayed kind of by like you know what I mean? Like we talk about politicians and like not trusting them or whatever, but the systemic stuff with as much freedom as we have, I feel like there's a lot of dishonesty and misinformation and stuff about like the systemic racism that still kind of poisons communities, man. And so just talking about it, like that's kind of an area. You talk about kind of stuff that frustrates you. That's one of the things that kind of gets me where I'm like, man, some of the stuff, at least I feel like I know that I've been like learning about or whatever, been exposed to at least. It's hard to tell what you know, especially when people lying time. But some of the stuff that you get exposed to, it's like, man, that's deep. And it's not like what the racism people are talking about. Racist this, racist that. Like when it's deeper than that, it feels like that drives me nuts, man. And so you kind of want to expose that kind of stuff as fast as you possibly can. But
yeah, man.
Yeah, that's just my own like personal spot, like kind of where I'm at right now without again a platform to be like, I'm changing this and changing that and I'm gonna do this. Like just talking about it. Like I appreciate just talking about it.
Yeah, man. Always. And you may not have a platform, but you it may not be publicized or whatever, but I know you've been putting in work in some form or another for years in the community, whether it be in your church or like in North Omaha or wherever it's at, man.
Yeah.
That's stuff that that's you, and you don't have to have a platform for that, man. We need people like you who are behind the scenes doing whatever you're doing, and like as long as you're making moves to make things better, that's what it's all about, man.
Well, I appreciate that, bro. and I know you do. I know you do similar stuff. I know your heart is similar. Like you want to see positive change and you want to help people. And I'm less like social, like you know what I mean. I'm less like out and about or whatever. But I definitely care about like the community and beyond just like my neighborhood, my city, or my town, city, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
On that note, it's weird, Ray. Like lately, people have been calling me like a local celebrity, and I'm like,
I didn't see it. Yeah.
that's not. It just feels odd when somebody says that, man. I don't.
Listen, people. Danelle's audience. Do you go by Danelle? Do people? Do you have a different name?
Hey, Janelle, aka Strong Guy Promotions, aka Omaha
All right.
Fat.
Okay. So AKA. Do y'all know AKA tried out for a teen soap opera back in the day? For a dude who doesn't want to be in the spotlight, this cat did try out for a
No,
teen
no,
soap
no,
opera.
no. I never said I don't want to be in the spotlight, but
Well,
just
what are you worried about? What are you
it's
complaining
just
about? You in the spotlight now? You're like, I don't want to be in the spotlight,
no, it's
but I
just
want to be in the spotlight.
no, it's just. You tried out too.
Man, I was just rolling with my dog. Listen, that was a support. That was a supporting role. I
Whatever,
wasn't
man.
trying to be on no TV. I wasn't planning on getting on TV. I didn't think I could act. I ain't never had no aspirations to act. I'm a behind the scenes cat, man.
Nah, man. But no, what I'm saying is like, yeah, like I'm a personality. I like doing that stuff, but it's just weird for that to actually be like something that people say like when they see me. Like I'm getting recognized. It's cool for people to know me, but like I don't think of myself as on any level as a celebrity.
They
That's how.
said local. I mean, they said,
But
like
still, even
you
that.
can be humble. Listen, you can be humble as a local celebrity. But listen, like who's it dude? When Jen got out of the military and she was doing weather, she's trying for weather. She was with Bill Ramby. She was
Yeah,
interning with Bill Ramby. Like that cat was like, he's a local celebrity. Like she didn't get goosebumps standing next to him. She didn't, ask for his autograph. She wasn't tripping on the fact that she was working with him. None of that stuff. But he's known around, he's known around
yeah.
the city. Like it ain't like he ain't
I
got a
mean,
million Twitter followers or nothing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if it means that I'm known, I mean that's cool because ultimately the goal is to just continue to grow and continue to, we were talking about platforms, like continue to expand the platform and reach more people. And again, it's always the undertone of it is always it might have a different reason for one specific thing, but overall the whole goal is always help. How can I help? In what form can I help? Whether it's just helping somebody smile for the day or whatever else it is, man. Just on some form of just encouragement, like you were saying earlier, man. Like I just want to encourage people to know that life is short, bro. Like we could die, we could lose somebody that we love at any moment. We don't know, and we just gotta like, man, we just gotta. It's out there, man. Like we could, if you want to go and get it, like it's out there. Like that's it. That's the message, man. Go in and you can go and inspire someone else to continue uh, the tradition of whatever it is that you believe in, man. So and you might not even know it. That's the coolest thing for me is it's cool to know that people like the first time somebody told me that I inspired them, I was like, me? But it's cool, right?
That look real humble.
Yeah, it was. No, it's cool. Like it's really cool. Like I appreciate it and I love it, but at the same time, it's still just weird to me.
Yeah.
But like knowing that I have, however far my reach is, there's people out there who might be like you and may be a behind the scenes type of person, and I may have had some kind of positive impact on them, and I may never know it. And they go out and live a certain way, maybe because they saw some kind of message from me on some given day, any given day. And if they go and take that out, that little piece, that little, that ripple effect that I talk about, man, like I love the ripple effect.
Yeah.
And you choose to go out and spread love, or you can choose to go out and spread hate and negativity. And I just want people to, I want to focus, and I always say I want to be a beacon of light. So no matter if it's Danelle, no matter if it's Small Guy Promotions, Omaha Fatty, whatever it is that I ever do, I want people to understand what they will get when I'm around. Like,
So
they're not calling me N bombs.
So, I mean, you like the local celebrity thing, man. Like, um, because that's your focus, because that's your mission. Like, you should want that because that just means. I mean, I get that it's not like it feels uncomfortable,
Yeah, that's what
but
it is.
but it means that. But it's validation because it means that the impact, if that's what your goal is, and that's the kind of impact you're having when people interact with you, then the more people that know you, the more. It's not about how many people know you; it's about what they know you for, and they know you for positivity, for doing, for helping folks out, for just bringing joy and whatever to your community. Like, you should want to be a huge celebrity if that is your goal, because that means you're doing that for whatever huge celebrity looks like in terms of audience and viewership and like the base that follows you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I get that celebrity isn't the goal, but of spreading hope, love, joy, whatever, however you categorize it, if that is the goal, you want to do that to as many people as possible, even though it comes with the
The
uncomfortableness.
millions.
Yes. Yeah. You have a turnbuckle in the home that you could piano boy.
Oh man.
But no, so yeah, man, I've appreciated that about just your evolution into that kind of role. Because you used to not want to be bothered with anybody. Like, there's
Whoa.
some point you don't want to be bothered with anybody.
Yep. Nope.
Um,
Nope. I don't. I
Now, not
think.
only will you allow yourself to be bothered with people, but it's not just bother with people. Like, you're allowing yourself to be used to inspire and to help and to, encourage people. And you do that. That's kind of mostly what you do when you're doing your thing. Like, that's mostly what you do, as far as I know. So,
Yeah, man.
you know,
Whatever, man. No, look. I, I'm sure I've told you this before, but it all started from that wonderful uh, leasing manager at Spring Tree Apartments back in the day when we moved out. And I can't even remember her name.
you
Uh,
slide them.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Stephanie. She was a friend. I worked with her. Her friend. Yeah.
yeah. But we had like an apartment complex party, and I was working or something. I couldn't make it, and you told me that she said uh, that I was outgoing. And I was like, I don't even like people. What do you mean I'm outgoing? Like I don't, like you said, man. I didn't want to be bothered with people. I didn't want nobody talking to me. Uh, and that up until even when I started Small Guy Promotions, I still didn't think that was a thing. But it started through helping the Hope Center for Kids, man, and being in contact with, uh, one of the directors of one of the youth programs at a church. Um, you know, the director reached out to me after Hip Hope Fest and asked me
What
to.
year? What year was
I
it?
don't remember which year it was. I don't know. It was probably the first or second year, I would think.
Okay.
But Stacia is her name, and she had moved to a different church and asked me to come out and speak to the kids, man, because she had followed me on Facebook. She was like, "I like your message," and
I
and I
remember this. I do remember that first thing because I was like, because you told me, yo, somebody asked me to come out and speak, and I was like,
yeah,
what are they? Is this an anti-drug message? What is this?
yeah. Yeah, man, that was the thing that started, man. Those are two of the big things that always stick out for me. And then so I just started to go toward, like you were saying, I just started to go towards that because I felt like that's where I was supposed to be, even though it was going outside of my normal comfort zone. Because when she asked me, I was like, I don't. I think I had actually already been doing that old podcast, uh, surviving life's tribulations that I did a few years back, but I was still like, I don't do that. When she asked me to speak, and it was like 25 minutes, I was like, I don't do that. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
at a church, I'm not even religious. And she's like, no, that's perfect. We need guests
Right.
like you.
Right. Are you real? You have to
Yeah,
be religious. Are you real?
yeah, dude. And that was it, bro. Once I got up there and I was like, what am I gonna talk about for 25 minutes, man? So I had to think of some topics to talk about, and like, I'm off the fly for everything, man. I don't take notes. I don't write stuff like that. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
So I just had the topics that I was going to talk about, And I was just like, how am I going to talk for 25 minutes? And then before I knew it, man, before I knew it, she was giving me the 5 minute signal. And I was like, dude, I got so high off of speaking to those kids, man. Like, it was like, yeah, that was different, man. I will always remember that, man. And I, that started it, man. That was the snowball that started it into the huge snowball that it is now, man. And then, finding people like Eric Thomas and Gary Vaynerchuk, and I'm just like, yeah, man, why am I not? Yeah, let me continue to put all my focus and energy towards this. Let's fall into it. Let's go, and we'll see what comes from it. If I could quit my job though, and get paid from this podcast, that would be ideal. So if anyone listens and has any connections, and somebody, spread the word about the podcast, man. I'm trying to blow up, but not blow up. I just want to quit my job. That's all I want to do, y'all.
This is that's an interesting goal, man. That sounds like a Kickstarter campaign.
Hey, nah, man. I just need people. All I need from people is attention. Like, just give me your attention and please share. If you enjoy anything that you've heard today or any time that you tuned in, please share and help us grow. That's what it's about. I don't need anything else. I don't need money from people unless I'm selling something, but I'm not selling anything. So,
you selling hope, baby.
Selling hope. Sprinkle it. Yeah. Anyway, man, that's cool. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it now. This goes down as, I think, probably the longest What's Up Omaha podcast, but it's cool. This is
me, man.
Look, if you guys are still around and listening or watching this, when we were younger, we used to watch like Real World or whatever, Road Rules or something, and all these like TV shows, and we always had conversations about how it would be cool if we could just, like, dude, we used to sit on the deck at our apartment complex and watch these pigeons on the rooftop of
thinking about that.
Adjacent building, and we would sit there and like do voices and like act like we were different pigeons and stuff, talking to each other. Like,
you about to alienate your audience, man.
No, man. No, we just always
and me too.
Look, we always had this concept of how cool it would be to kind of just sit around and talk about random stuff, man, and have cameras on and start a show, and how it would be cool. So that's why it's cool to have you on, and Steve and Joe, and just friends on, because I feel like I'm doing what I used to dream of doing, even though it wasn't like I don't know, man. I don't know what it was. It was kind of like a creative thing on some level, but it was also just like fun. Like,
chopping it. I mean, like, whenever we get together, man, like, or have gotten together, like, just late at night, like, even we'll just get together for an hour.
Yeah.
We'll do something or whatever, and then we're standing outside by the car talking for 4 more hours, like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. So chopping it up has just been like something that's been, I don't know, it's been therapeutic. Like, you connect with people, man, and just talk about real stuff, and we get into it, and like respectfully, like we don't agree on everything, but we're able to like dig in and have enough respect for each other that we can talk about just about anything without any kind of hurt feelings, and be open to like enough trust in the relationship to be open to like, okay, what's this cat talking about? So I feel like that just makes it like easy to just chat and chat forever about whatever comes up. It's just always been what we've been able to do. We probably spent most of our time over 2 decades or whatever it is now, like just talking.
Yep. And that's how I felt in my head that I was going to end this podcast 3 times, and we're still talking. But This is officially it, man. Okay, if you guys are listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Please share. It's on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Radio Public, so many different platforms. Find us. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think. Let us know if you have an opinion. Just be respectful, and please don't call me an M-bomb, because I might see you somewhere. No, I'm just playing. I don't do that no more.
And if he sees you, he'll slap you and put a dent in your car. Think twice.
But yo, man, this has been like one of the most fun podcasts that I've done, man. So thanks for being on, Ray. I appreciate you. I love you. Like, you're my brother, man. You already know.
I don't like you because you're black, but I do appreciate you bringing me on the show.
Whatever, man. All right, y'all. Hey, smile, help someone else smile, laugh, and help someone else laugh all day, every day. That's what it's about all day. Peace out, y'all. Yeah. Enjoy it.